We're going to talk to the woman who is in charge of S&P's sovereign credit ratings in Europe, and now she's the chief executive of the International Center for Financial Regulation, which is a London research group being funded by banks and also the UK government. Barbara Ridpath joins us on the program this morning. Good to see you, Barbara.
Thank you.
First off, I guess I got to talk to you about S&P, right? Credit watch negative. What does that mean?
It's saying that the Eurozone as a whole needs to be looked at, and that finally makes sense. That's one of the problems the IMF pointed to several years ago, that the IMF tended to look by country instead of the Eurozone as a whole. And what they're looking at is the support mechanism for the entire system, as opposed to a country-by-country look.
Okay. So is this move, would you say, is it surprising in your view?
Not at all.
Not at all, right?
Not at all.
It's not telling you anything new?
I think the question is whether it sounds like it was put in place before the Sarkozy-Merkel agreement last night. It would have had to be prepared before that. I think what they're saying is, regardless of what happens there, the outlook stays the same. Okay,
so do you think S&P itself, it seems like it's trying to get ahead of the curve now, because some people are saying that S&P has been back-footed for so long in terms of, I guess, correctly identifying this ongoing sovereign debt crisis. Do you think they're trying to make a point here?
No, not at all. I think that it's consistent with what they did with the United States this summer. It's making sure their benchmarking across countries is consistent. And I think I would disagree slightly with the getting it wrong previously on the sovereigns. I think they were right on, spot on the sovereigns, but I would say that, wouldn't I?
Yeah, you would. I think there's some affiliation there. Okay, so tell me about what's going on in the banking world, because we've been talking about a lot of deleveraging from European banks. Do you think we're heading towards a banking crisis?
I think there's an awkward confluence now with the sovereign exposures that the European banks have and the regulation. When you put them together, the only way they can meet the new regulations is to shrink their balance sheets quite dramatically.
Yeah.
Or by asset sales, that's another thing that's happening, or by massaging a bit their risk-weighted assets.
Right.
All of that speaks to having to reduce the amount they're lending. And the question is, even if it can be used most profitably here, the inclination is always to move back towards your home markets and troubles.
Yeah, that's what's happening. A lot of deleveraging happening, and that's also affecting Asia Pacific markets. But how do you feel about this recapitalization? Because some are saying, why make banks recapitalize in this time of turmoil when that basically squeezes credit markets as well, and the credit available to other companies and countries elsewhere?
Well, you're in a terrible cycle. You're in a sort of dismal cycle, if I can put it that way. The reason the governments need to do what they do, and that's caused a large part of the credit crisis, is having bailed out the banks. Right? So they need the banks safer so they don't have to do that again. So the only way to do that is to raise the capital in the banks, and so you've created a cycle that then makes the banks fragile again.
Some have used the term death spiral. Well, let's not use it so early on this Tuesday morning. But okay, so what about the area of banking? A lot of people are saying that because of the over-regulation, the banks that have choices to move will. For instance, HSBC. Everyone's been talking about how they're going to move their headquarters here to the Asia Pacific. Is that a risk, considering you're taxing banker bonuses by 50% in London?
Well, it's not the banker bonus, it's the banker's profits. And then it's the income tax on everybody who earns over a certain amount. I think the issue is actually the consistency of treatment. And what they don't know, what they don't trust now, is how it's going to change. So what they like is working anywhere, and it's any corporate or any individual, somewhere they see a stable tax regime and a stable legal regime. The less stable it is, the more likely they're going to try and choose someplace that is stable.
Right, which might be here in the Asia Pacific. Yeah, talk to me about the bank's health here in the Asia Pac.
My understanding, and I'm not an expert in this, is that most of them already meet their Basel III numbers, which is very good. I think one of the issues is, with the kind of growth that had been projected, even if it's slightly curbed now by the Eurozone crisis, whether they can continue to build capital to meet the kind of demand that will come, particularly as the Europeans withdraw, is going to be the challenge under the new Basel III for the banks here.
And what's the talk about the health of Chinese banks in particular? There's this debate, are they over-leveraged? How many bad loans do they have on their books? Are they heading towards bankruptcy as well?
No, again, I'm not an expert, but their capital looks strong. The issue is always the loans to the public sector and the loans, the real estate loans, right? And those are very hard to value when you're not using pure IFRS.
Oh, gotcha. Barbara, have a good time across the Asia